In today's video, we're going to learn how to create an application with the capability of recognizing handwritten text and converting it into a digital text. So as you can see, we are going to use the Python programming language to do this. So you can see that I can get the picture like this, then upload it to the application. Once I pick the picture, it shows me the handwritten text. Click on this icon and it takes some seconds or so, after which it returns a result which is a complete extracted text, like you can see here. So I can click on this icon and it copies it. So I can go to any editor or text editor or any environment like Notepad or Microsoft Word and paste it. It can also be useful for any paper that you have printed before. You don't want to type it all over again, so you can just scan it. As you can see, you can just scan it to the system and you convert it to text. Okay, now there's something like this that has happened before that you have in your system, but I was just curious, what if you create your own application that can do that? So we're going to use Python for this with a graphical user interface, and with that we are going to have a Kiwi and Kiwi MD. So we are going to do that, and we just pip install Kiwi MD. Then we are going to need the library, which is easy OCR. Then of course the OpenCV. So the entire line here will just install everything for you. That is pip install Kiwi MD, and so on. So press enter. That is when you are in the VS Code or in any editor of your choice. So I've already done it. That's why it's saying that requirement already satisfied. It's advised that you put this in a virtual environment. I've also created a video tutorial on how to create a virtual environment when working with Python. Okay, so I will have it linked in the description of this video. Let's get right to the coding now. So here we need to make some importation. So we say we import Kiwi, that's from kiwi.lang, then import builder, then have all the other three importations there. So these libraries. So we need these dependencies. Then we need to have the UI, the basic UI designed. So that would be MD screen, the orientation of vertical. They will have a label that will show for, which is optical character recognition app. So it will be at the middle or the center. They will have a padding surrounding the entire application, 10 dp, then spacing 10 dp. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So the next thing we need to do now is to work on the Python aspect. So what we have just done earlier, just the UI. So let's work on the Python side. You can also do this within the Python environment anyway, or the Python code area. So create a class called OCR app. We have the default function there, or method in this case. They will define the width of the window and set the icon that will display at the title bar. Then we set it at this icon resides, or this picture or image resides within a folder called images / the name of the icon, which is logo.png. Then we set the title. Okay, we set the title of the application. Then here now we now say self.screen builder.load string. So this one will now practically load in what we wrote earlier, that UI I talked about. Then we return the app. So we now say return self.screen. So this is more or less a way of bringing it forth. Okay, the way of making sure that it shows. Then so we just say if the name is equals main, then that OCR app.run. So we run it. Okay, basically run it here. So yeah, that's one. It needs to be like this. Oh, this one needs to be screen. Sorry, this one's supposed to be screen. That was a typo there. Alright, so what we need to do is that we run it. So once you run it, so this is what we have. So you can see the icon at the top left there. You can see the text at the title. Then of course see the major text at the bottom, but it's going to be at the top as we add other features or other things on the screen. Okay, so the next thing we need to do now is we add more we import some more libraries. So that will have from Kiwi UIX, then image. We import image. Then we also import the behavior, because we want the image to have some sort of behavior. So this image of the picture, the big picture, we want it to be behaving like a button, sort of. Okay, so that's what we have in line 6. Then what we now need to do is to create a class. So create a class, we'll call it clickable image, what that will have we implement button behavior, that of image. All right, so we just add pass here. All right, then after we have done that, then that's it to this aspect. All right, so the next thing we need to do is to come down here. So okay, here we need to have clickable image. So that is more or less a way of bringing it in here into this design, this UI area. That is just a Kiwi Python stuff. Okay, so it doesn't look regular with the other things, but it is what it is. So we create an ID of preview image. Then we'll define the source of that big image that I talked about earlier. So then we'll define how it's going to, where it's going to stay, and all those kind of things. It's going to stretch. That's going to be adjustable based on the size of the app. That is, if you decide to resize the window. All right. So then we have a function. We'll now implement a function called File Manager Open. That is on release. That is when you click on that thing, as soon as as you touch it or as you click on it, so it's going to call this function called. We have not created it. We are going to create it in a moment. All right, so this is what we have so far. So let me just bridge that. So let's come here now. So here, if you run, let's run it. Let's see what happens. So if you run it, now see that it shows you that big image. Okay, so this is the what is going to be clicked on later. Okay, which is right here. Yeah, this one. All right. Okay, so that function, we're going to create it in a moment, like I said earlier. So then we'll come here. So what we now need to do here, we'll add a layout on it. So now say MD box layout. So define the orientation. So the orientation should be horizontal. So we want to add other features on it. Then we also define the button icon. Okay, so from 36 to 52, those lines. So you can see how it looks now. So if you click on it, it's going to flag an error because we have not created the function we are calling. All right, so we add more importation. We add the MD dialog. We also add we also import MD file manager. Then we import one more thing. So we import OS. All right, so now the OS will have a default, this opening and closing of dialog box and so on. So these 3 importations that we have just done, we handle the next aspect of the code we are going to write. Okay, so then we'll come here underneath this, immediately after this function or method. So declare some variables, file path, extracted text, dialog, then copy button. So we have those ones declared at this top here. So once we have declared that, okay, let's add one more, editable inputs. So we'll initialize them to null. Then the extracted text will be empty by default. Okay, so now that we have done that, the next thing we need to do is to come here, to come to this place. So we'll come here, say self.file manager equals md file manager. Remember we imported it. So within which we define exit manager equals self.exit manager. Then select path equals self.select path. So we are going to we have this one right there. Then we define a method called file manager open. That's the one that we created earlier. That we called earlier. So it will have a self.filemanager.show. So it will now show the path that leads to where the picture is or the image is. Then we now define that method that we created, that we called earlier. So the method called exit manager. Then while the file manager will be, we implement show os.path. So here you can see that if you run it, you can practically open the directory, open 5 directories. Okay. So the next thing we need to do, we'll create the select path function, which we called earlier. So create the select path function. So within which we say self.file path equals path, then self.exit manager, then self.root.ids.preview image.source equals self.root self.file path. So this one we called earlier at the top. Okay, so now these are basically what we have here so far. What is what we have so far? Nothing too much here. So look at it carefully. So then that will dialog box, we'll implement it as we'll make use of it later. Consider it's a little bit grayed out because we have not written any code that implements it or that makes use of it. Okay, so this is what we have so far. So now if you run it now, it gives you this. So if you click on any one, so let's pick a text now. Let's pick a picture. See that it displays the image that I just selected. Okay, so at least this works. Before you would extract, you need to know how the picture looks like or how the text you want to extract looks like. The extract button, which will be equal to self.root.id, then extract button. So that button is here. We are previewing it because by default it doesn't show. Okay, so now we want to make sure that it is not disabled anymore, that it should be displayed an opacity of 1. So when we click on it, what do we want to happen? So we want to have self.extract button.self.root.id.extract button. So the self.extract button.icon will change to progress clock. So and it will be disabled so that it won't click on it while you are waiting for it to be done. Then while you do that, we need to create some kind of threads on it. So thread will make sure that it doesn't hang the entire system. That it is only that function that will be working, or that method that will be working. So we need to now import clock and thread. If you have done anything on Java, you understand this area. This idea better. So we now say thread target equals self.run OCR then .start. So while it is running, other things can actually be happening on the screen without it being hanged. That's the idea for using thread. All right. So then as soon as you click on it, while the thread is running, so we need to do a try except. So here we now say if anything happens, we now say clock.schedule once, then lambda, then self.show dialog box. Right, so that is if this is what we have, that if anything goes wrong, it shows something here. So you can now see error and more or less gives you an idea of the kind of error that would occur or that has occurred. Or we'll just say error basically. So if anything happens, we'll just say error. All right, so then otherwise, if everything goes well, we'll now say image equals c2 dot image read. Then we need to import that C2. We need to bring it in because you can see that it's giving some sort of error. So then the C2 will be .cvt color. And this is just a Python thing. So something that has to do with the easy OCR. So we need to import now the CV2. So we now say import, then OCR. Then we also need to import CV2. Okay, so this one is actually what is in charge of the image, of reading the text out of any image, basically. All right, so then once we have that, then the reader equals easy OCR.reader. Then we are going to have it in English. Then we now have a result. Then later we now say self.extract test. All right, so we now say clock.schedule once, then show results. Okay, so once that happens, then we are pretty much good to go. Then after it has done the processing, then it needs to show the result. So this show result, remember this is what is calling here. So we are defining what is going to show there now. Okay, we are defining what is going to show there. So it's supposed to be show results with an S. So we now say within the show result function or method, we now say show result dot extract button dot icon. So it will take it back to text recognition icon. Then after which it will not have it disabled anymore. So that if you want to do any other processing, you'll be able to do that. So that you don't need to go and relaunch the application basically. Then after which you now say self.editable input equals md text. So we need to import md text field. We have imported that now. So we'll come back here. So what we'll now do here, so we'll now say self.editable input equals md text. If there's nothing within the picture, it will say no text found. And the text field should have a multiple lines, like a text area, sort of, if you understand HTML. Then, but we just want to print out what happens. So if you run it now, so it shows up like this. Don't bother about this small icon. We're going to fix it in a moment. So we have it like this. Then pick any one. If you convert it now, look at it. You see that it shows you the text that is written on the image. You see that it shows up within the terminal here. In the next video, what we're going to do is that we'll make that text that showed within the terminal to show in a dialog box. So I can click on the icon, copy icon to copy it and do whatever it is you want to do with the text extracted. I hope this helps you. Watch out for the next video. Subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. Like the video and share it. Thank you for watching. See you in another video.